Welcome back to the Freemouse MC YouTube channel, and what a beauty of a motorcycle we have on the channel today, and that's the Triumph Scrambler 900. And what a beauty of a bike with this amazing upswept exhaust and basically the Bonneville look with the Scrambler aesthetic at the same time. And it's quite an interesting bike because this is a really visual first motorcycle. There are other Scramblers that are basically also from Triumph, based on a adventure bike platform or something, but this is the Scrambler that's kind of very similar to how Scramblers used to be, based on the Bonneville platform, similar to how people back in the day used to build their own. Just this one is from the factory with this beautiful upswept exhaust. I'm amazed by the looks of it. The engine is a 900cc liquid-cooled 2-cylinder with a 270-degree crank, producing 65 horsepower and 80 newton-meters of torque. And these 80 newton-meters of torque come on quite low in the rev range. And I'm really interested how this bike is to ride and the general philosophy around this motorcycle with just these very beautiful looks. And you're supposed to take this bike also onto the one or other gravel road. And yeah, let's welcome the owner of this motorcycle, Eddie. Welcome to the channel. Nice to have you on.
Hello.
Yeah, why did you get this beautiful machine? What inspired you to go in specific for the Triumph Scrambler 900?
To be honest, I took a test ride and that was it. And I went to the bank and bought it. And I also like the look of this motorcycle a lot. And I always wanted a Triumph. And since I'm a quite old guy now, there's few options. You can either buy a Harley Davidson motorcycle, but I'm not a Harley dude. And the Triumph, I always wanted a Triumph.
What did you end up paying for the machine?
Paid 10,800.
I mean, that's a relatively decent price. I think they're being traded for 11,400, so you managed to get it below MSRP, which is pretty good, especially in today's time.
Yeah, because not a lot of people around here want a real Scrambler, because this is sport bike country.
Yeah. Let's see how much real Scrambler is in the Triumph Scrambler 900. One thing can be said for certain, the Triumph Scrambler 900 is really beautiful, and even though that doesn't influence how it feels to ride, it still kinda does, because you're sitting on a gorgeous looking machine while moving through the countryside. So we now here have the Triumph Scrambler 900 on the side of the road, standing right next to my Interceptor that we rode out here. And let's swing a leg over this beautiful machine. I'm genuinely just so obsessed with this really nice exhaust. Let's see if that one will fry my thigh. But I don't think so. They must have thought this through. Okay, let's give it a go. The sound of this machine is quite magnificent, I have to say. That's really beautiful. Okay, here in a moment when we come out of this little village, we can do a little acceleration test, and let's go. Yeah, if you want to, the bike has some strong pull. It definitely will not leave you longing for more, I have to say. The 65 horsepower at the peak, and especially the 80 newton meters, really do a nice job. So far the bike feels quite nice, torquey down low, and the 5-speed transmission is definitely something to get used to, but I like it so far. And that the bike doesn't have a rev meter is for me a nice touch. I love bikes with a really raw feeling to them, and this bike with the 270 degree crank has a really it feels a bit like a Harley engine almost. The road that we're on here right now is relatively bumpy, but the bumps are nicely soaked up by the suspension for a street bike. However, it transfers quite a lot of little shocks through to me for it being a Scrambler. So let's get here through the turns, and swinging the bike from side to side, you can really feel the big 19-inch front wheel. But overall, I have to say that's relatively fine. And it handles like an old school bike, but compared to the older Bonnevilles like the T100, it feels a lot more modern, I have to say. And For it being a scrambler, it nicely hits that line of still being quite a low street bike, which is something that I like, because I always feel when I think of the word scrambler, I think of a motorbike that comes from street riding and then has slight modifications for off-road use. So let's definitely have a look at how this bike then also handles on off the beaten path. Before we get going to the next gravel road, one more thing. The bike has a really beautiful retro fuel cap, which I like, and consumes around 4 liters on 100 kilometers. So after having taken the Triumph Scrambler 900 for a bit of a spin around the block on the street, let's see how it is to sit on the motorcycle. For context, I'm quite tall. I'm 6'5" or 1.95 m, and the bike is relatively comfortable. It has a quite low seat height of 790 millimeters, which means it's quite approachable for basically everyone. And the foot pegs are very low, so I have a very comfortable knee angle that I can sit on with all day. The seat is relatively comfortable. And even though it's a retro bike, it doesn't have this like really old bike feel that some of the older modern retro Bonnevilles have, where the frame is just shaky and everything, like on the T100. And also the levers all go really easily. The handlebars are a bit wider than on something like the Speed Twin, but roughly the same height, which results in a relatively comfortable riding position that you can hold for a really long time. And that's quite great, because it's a great bike that looks really good to just basically drive around town on. Yeah, really good. Let's see how the bike handles some gravel. So these are kind of the roads that the Scrambler 900 feels the most comfortable on, because it's kind of off the beaten path, but you can still somewhat sit down. Because one of the problems with the high-waisted exhaust, that if you stand up like here, it kind of presses into your calf. And on this one side, you don't burn your leg, but it gives you a bit of trouble when standing up. But I gotta say, with the 120 millimeters of suspension travel in the front and in the rear, this is relatively fine. Yeah, let's go. And now here, little bump over this bridge. Yeah. However, if you get this bike here on the used market, and for a little bit cheaper, I saw some models with around 27,000 on the clock on the used market, then you get a really nice little fun Scrambler, because the engine characteristic, and once ABS and traction control is disabled, this becomes a bit of a hooligan machine, which is quite nice. Like the way it's just going through here. Nice, woo! This is fun. This is motorbike riding. This is really enjoyable. Here's also where the 19-inch front wheel really shines, because the 19-inch front wheel keeps this thing, whoopala, we had some air, a little bit planted if you lean it over in the dirt. I like this little in-between point of it being a road bike and not really made for this, but at the same time you can give it the beans on a road like this, and a lot of the character here really comes from the bike being so torquey. Now, after having taken the bike off the beaten path and having experienced how it handles on the one or other fire road, I have to say, really the star of the show on this motorcycle is this exhaust. Like, I just complained about it pressing into my calf when standing on the motorcycle, but any other complaints about the thing getting hot or anything, I tried to get it hot basically while standing and having really my leg pressed on it, and it doesn't happen. And my only complaint about it is that it presses into my calf. But just the looks of it. It is so beautiful, and this is kind of an aesthetic first motorcycle. Like, you can definitely take it on a tour, because even though it's aesthetic first, all the materials are really easy to maintain. You don't have any chrome parts on this bike, which can be really nice if you just put a tent on the back of this and want to go motorcycle camping for like a few weeks. You don't worry about your chrome and everything oxidating. And I'm just in love with this exhaust. And the bike is a really decent street bike, I have to say. Like, it rides the street decent. On the gravel road, it can do it. It can do it, but I wouldn't do anything too crazy on it. I wouldn't go on a single trail or anything. And it predominantly is a street bike. However, I'm a bit upset that they kind of cheaped out on the bash plate, because the bash plate is out of plastic. And for a Triumph and a bike at this price point, and with cheaper bikes on the market offering a metal bash plate like the Interceptor, I would love to see a metal bash plate on this, especially with the upswept exhaust and everything, because they moved the exhaust out of the way for more intense use, basically, and then cheaped out on the bash plate. Yeah, but overall, really happy with the looks of it and just in love with the exhaust.
One more thing, the exhaust also sounds really nice for a modern bike. This really nice exhaust finishes off this beautiful design. This is one of the most beautiful bikes on the market you can get. Only thing to complain about is that they cheaped out on the blinkers, which is, if you put this much effort into a design, kind of a shame, especially at this price point. Apart from that, the seat is really comfy and also looks fitting for this design, and it's a single seat design, which makes it look even more Scrambler-ish with the luggage rack at the back. The ride-by-wire system comes with 3 different modes: road, rain, and off-road. And the off-road mode is definitely to be recommended. It's the most fun, the bike feels the most torquey, it switches off ABS and traction control and is a lot of fun. Sadly, you have to turn it on every time you switch off the bike due to regulations. The bike weighs 223 kilos, which is quite a lot, but due to the low seat height and the low weight, you barely feel it at the end of the day.
So, me and Eddie are now back from taking the Triumph Scrambler 900 for a spin, and he had the long-term owning experience already. So, what kind of things did you do on it, and what did you experience with the bike so far?
I changed the luggage rack to a Hepco and Becker thing, because the original luggage rack is a joke. And what else did I do? I put a K&N oil air filter in it. And I put the injection covers away, so you can really look through the motorcycle, which is better for me.
Yeah, for me too, because like Triumph likes to put these like fake carburetor-ish things on there, which sometimes look a bit odd, and I actually prefer it also with it just, it's fuel injected, but you can see what it is. I kind of like that.
You can see what it is. And the thing I dislike a little bit is that it doesn't have tubeless tires and it doesn't have LED. That would be very good. And the suspension is a little bit on the harsh side, I think. When it was young, the cylinders had a hole and water leaked out of the cylinder, and Triumph changed it without questions asked. I think it's a known issue.
But do they replace it with like a different part, or with
different cylinders?
Okay, but like not the same, so you don't run into the same issue again.
No. It was a certain number.
Yeah.
How they knew about it.
How long is the warranty on these machines? Because with an issue like this, that's something to.
It has a 4-year warranty, and you have to get to Triumph every 10,000 kilometers, which is about 6,000 miles, or 1 year. And I will do that in the years to come, because I don't want to have another motorcycle. I want to keep it. It's a very, very nice ride. And it's like surfing for me a little bit.
Yeah, I saw your little surf sticker on there, and yeah that's so cool.
It has this grunt from very low, which other motorcycles just don't have. And it's light at the same time, not like a American motorcycle. And I'm a Triumph guy, Triumph fanboy.
Yeah, that's really nice to hear. And yeah, what Eddie just said, the lowdown grunt is really phenomenal on this machine, and that really nicely pairs with the transmission. And that in this kind of setting of like a naked bike, scrambler-ish retro bike, that you get this lowdown grunt that you usually only get like on a cruiser or like a Harley. That's really, really nice, especially with the 270-degree crank. So after now having heard Eddie's perspective on the long-term ownership of this machine, let's summarize. I think the Triumph Scrambler 900 is a bike that you can be quite happy with. It feels very characterful. Like I compared it during the motovlog with a Sportster, because it's just like with the 270-degree crank and the 2-cylinder and the low-down grunt. One thing that I in particular like about this motorcycle is the 5-gear transmission, because it basically feels like a 4th-gear transmission with 1 overdrive, and that makes the bike feel really old school. There are a few little complaints at the price point, like the plastic bash guard and the blinkers. They could be designed a bit nicer, because you can also make some nice blinkers out of plastic, definitely. But apart from that, I really like the bike, and I think if you want to get one of these, either get one new and just absolutely love the machine and look after it super much, or get a bike from the used market for like 5 to 8 grand with already a scratch in it from someone else, and just ride the thing wherever you want and really use it as a scrambler and use how it was intended to. Because even though it's a street bike, like, you definitely can feel that it comes from the street and it's supposed to be ridden on the street, it can do the one or other thing beside the beaten path. And of course an Enduro will be more capable, but at the end of the day, this bike is plenty fun, and that's basically the greatest thing about it. And definitely, if you like this video, feel free to write me an email if you have a motorcycle that I would and if you like this video, definitely feel free to write me an email to for a motorcycle that you would like me to review. Scheiße. If you like this video, definitely like and subscribe, and also feel free to write me an email if you have a motorcycle that you would like me to review, because people like Eddie basically ensure that I can stay neutral on the channel, because now I also have motorcycle brands offering me bikes to review, and I can always say about these motorcycles what I want, because I know sooner or later I can review them also from my community if if I don't see eye to eye with a manufacturer. So that's really great to have, and definitely I love that kind of support, and see you guys in the next video.